So episode 40 is live. I've been up since 5:45 this morning, driven down to Leamington. Ben's here, early start, because we've got a special guest who is not in England right now. Isn't that right, Benno?
That is true. At least I'm on time today.
Yeah, were you late last time? I can't remember.
I think it was all right last time. The time before, I might have been 5 minutes late.
Well, no, this is a special one. Every 10 episodes, special guests. You've all been voting. Tim Chisholm was sadly unavailable. So we have, from Melbourne, Australia, Jonathan Howell. Welcome to A View from the Hazards, Johners.
Thank you very much, fellas. It's lovely to join you. And I've been listening to your podcast with enthusiasm and interest, and it's always been great.
Now, Jonas, be honest. When we asked you to do this, did you have to turn around to Julie and be like, right, I'm not going to be available for the next few evenings, so I need to do some swatting?
No, I've had no swatting, but I've had to shove my guests who have come for dinner out on the balcony and enjoying the sunset to leave themselves with a bottle of Pinot so I can come and talk to you.
That's funny.
Well, I can't think of many better places in the world to be left alone with a bottle of Pinot than your balcony in Mornington.
Yeah, it's pretty special, isn't it?
What time is it? What time is it in Australia?
It's coming up to 7:45 in the evening.
Oh, plenty of time for another bottle of Pinot. That'll be fine.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, exactly. So this will just be a nice warm-up and then you can get going.
Yeah, exactly. That's okay.
Correct. Absolutely.
So, Jonas, how is... obviously, like, you as a Brit must be kind of following the carnage that's going on here, the kind of stop-start, lockdown, unlockdown situation. Australia went into quite a severe lockdown pretty early, didn't they? And are you guys, out of that now?
They did, Ben. They really shut down everything pretty severely, in that we were out of work for 4 or 5 months. I think.
My God.
We were not allowed. We were only allowed out for 2 or 3 reasons. One, to go to the shops. One, to get medical stuff, and that was about it. And we weren't allowed to go more than 5k away from home, and only allowed out for an hour a day. The first lockdown we had wasn't too bad because it was like a novelty, and it was actually great to have a bit of time off work and to rest the body up. But the second one, which went on for 4 months, was quite tough, although I think we were lucky living down where we do on the Mornington Peninsula. We've got the beach and, can do lots of nice walks and things. Yeah. I was very happy when they allowed golf again because, I could really practice my golf a bit, so that was great. But also, it's done the trick. We had 800 deaths in Victoria, which is not a lot compared to
That's nothing.
The UK, but
got more
a significant amount which came out of quarantine. And we've got that down to 0, and we've had 0 cases now of no deaths, no virus for 44 days in Victoria.
So is it back to normal then? Is everything back to normal?
It's more or less back to normal. We're back at work. People are going about their business. A lot of people have decided to work from home.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So they're not sort of going in at all. We've just heard, though, that New South Wales now has had a few cases, so everyone's a bit nervous that it might come back into Victoria. But we've got to learn to live with this thing and get on with our lives, I think.
Too right.
Yeah, because we've had, obviously, like we've obviously had this kind of tier system that I'm not, don't follow politics or anything at all, but so I'm not going to start spouting my mouth off. But the tier system, clearly isn't really working over here, and I think, because everything. I was talking to somebody the other day, and I was basically saying, in the UK, you're never really more than an hour away from a city. So, you can. I would imagine people in, deepest, darkest Victoria have can isolate so easily. Whereas here, we had a situation when we came out where, Manchester was tier 3, so the highest restrictions, and Liverpool was tier 2, which is kind of medium restrictions. The big difference being that pubs and restaurants are allowed to open in tier 2, but not in tier 3. So you obviously had a situation where everybody was jumping on the train from Manchester, going to Liverpool and getting beered up for the day, and then just coming back to Manchester again. So and it's tough to avoid that.
The Australians probably don't realise how lucky. Well, I think they do realise how lucky they are, and that we've only got 5 million people in Victoria, which is sort of like 5 or 6 times the size of the UK, and so.
Oh, wow.
And houses are quite spaced apart. There's a lot more land around, so that it was easy to isolate, I think. And I said to the guys at work, it's much harder in the UK where everyone's on top of each other. 70 million people, it's a lot harder to organise, and it's. I feel for you over there, and as I do also for poor Nicky who's gone to Bordeaux.
Oh no, yeah. How's he getting on? How's he getting on?
Well, I think he's doing really well. He's speaking good French now. I think he's almost fluent.
I like the fact that you changed that from great to good immediately.
Well, he's a bit frustrated because obviously 3 or 4 days after leaving the US to go take over a new court, a few days in they closed everything down. I think it's closed there now until the 20th of January. So
that's just a fixed date closure, is it, at the moment?
Yeah, a fixed date closure, I understand.
Because I knew that it basically happened, like, he turned up and then 3 or 4 days later it kind of went into a bit of a lockdown. I was like, oh, that's not what you need.
At least there's good wine.
Yeah, absolutely. And he lives in the centre of Bordeaux, which is a great part of Bordeaux to live in. And, it's going back into my old footsteps because I was obviously there.
Well, here's a question for you then, John.
How long ago was that? 1982, I think, to 1989, I think I was there till so.
Before Ben was born.
You left Bordeaux. You left Bordeaux before Robert had even been born.
Miles before.
So I worked at Bordeaux, certainly not for that long. Where did you live when you were there? First of all, I lived in the centre of Bordeaux.
Yeah. And then we lived in Corderon. And then we moved a bit slightly nearer the club. So we're not too far away, about 2 or 3 miles in towards the city.
How nice is the city?
It was great years. I loved living in France, loved the French way of life. And it was great sort of, running the club there at the time. And we had it, pretty well busy, and the squash was great. The real tennis was busy. And it was great years. And of course, Nicky and my other boy, Benny, were both born there.
Yeah, that's right.
I gather Benny's over in Melbourne at the moment, competing in the Big Bash.
Yeah, he's playing a bit of Big Bash cricket, the T20. He's been in Hobart. They sort of have to live in a hub over there, so they're playing quite a few matches over there. Then they move elsewhere.
Right.
I understand he's coming home for Christmas, so that would be nice to catch up with him.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Well, Benno. So obviously we've got a list of questions as we do with every guest. I think our last guest was John Lumley. So you're of slightly different vintage when it comes to real tennis careers.
I'm old, you mean?
No, come on, I didn't say that. Benno, let's kick this off.
Well,
where are we going?
Well, the first thing I guess is, Jonas, what can you remember the year roughly that you played your first competitive tournament as a pro?
I think it would have been.
What a put on the spot question that is.
79.
Oh my god.
Okay, so that's good, because what I've realised on the basis that you competed in the 2020 Australian Open is that you played doubles. Your playing career is your competitive playing career is currently 41 years and counting.
That could actually be the longest ever.
Could that be a record?
Really?
Well, 1979, if that was your first one. 2000, you played in the 2020 Aussie Open.
Yeah.
So you're 41 years in and counting.
What about Ronaldson? He's nearly 100, isn't he?
He's not competing though, is he?
He's not competing. I think his last tournament was like the British Open qualifying in maybe like 2013 or something. But he didn't make the main draw, right? Like he's not played in a main draw for, I don't know, probably since the 90s or early 2000s. So. Yours has got to be longer.
Well, so obviously a quick congratulations on that, and obviously we hope that record continues to grow.
So when's Graham Highlands though?
It's a little bit embarrassing because when I look at the IRTPA, stats and it reads my name, it has it sort of results from about 2010 or something, or when the IRTPA started.
Yeah.
IRTPA started from the RTPA. And of course, the results are lost 6-love, 6-1, lost 6-2, 6-3.
Yeah, not what a set. Not what a set in 10 years.
Not what a set, I don't think, since then either. So You know, it doesn't mention anything about what happened before.
Well, what you've got to do with that is make sure, because Susie's always keen to update the website, so just make sure you write yourself a really juicy bio, and then everybody will gloss over the results and read the bio instead.
Written 2 books.
I should do that.
Written more books than sets. So
the first question. Oh, sorry, Simon.
I was going to say. So obviously, your first book, which I've read, it does talk a lot about those early tournaments. There's a good photo of you still at Moreton Morrell at that World Championship in '82. So you started at Moreton, didn't you? Is that right?
I started at Moreton in 1978.
Oh my God.
The court was built in 1905, and I think I was the second ever professional there.
Wow.
Because the first one was there till he was 70. Ted Johnson.
I was going to say Ted Johnson.
For 70 odd years.
Because
and then there was a gap, and then I was the second ever pro.
Yeah, because the club championships at Leamington is called the Johnson Cup.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is interesting.
Yeah.
So yeah, you've written a book, More Than a Yard Worse, just More Than a Yard Worse.
Yeah.
What was the what kind of inspired you to do that? Because obviously it's quite, well, I say it's quite a brave thing to do. It's like I imagine it's an extremely rewarding thing to do. But what made you decide to start penning a book?
I think look, when we always think it was great in our day, don't we? But when we used to play in tournaments and things, we were a group of mates going around. We didn't play for hardly any money at all, but we had the best fun ever, going sort of to America and coming out to Australia, and the story of going to France and being pioneers of starting off this brand new court there. I just thought it'd be worth saying a few words about it, and sort of I got into it, and it sort of flowed from there really, and talked about what I thought were the great players of my time.
Yeah.
And they were. I was grateful for them because a few of them wrote a chapter in the book as well.
Oh, nice.
And I just thought it was maybe people might find it interesting.
And when was that published?
Oh golly,
late 90s,
yeah,
90. I think 90, 94, 93, 94, 1993, 4, something like that.
What year were you born, Shanks?
96. Yeah, I know. It's a good one though. It's a good one. I remember the photos are great because there's one caption, and it's obviously it's annoying for you obviously because there's a picture of you with Paul Tabley, and Paul Tabley's obviously won, and you're looking really sad, and it's just guess who won this match? And I was like, oh my God.
Well, I'll tell you the story about that match because you won't believe it. Well, I don't know if you've been there, but I was 6 love, 5 love up, 40 love up.
Can't say I've been there.
Chase 4, and I left the ball. I played the ball at chase 6, thinking, oh well, I just played anyway. And he got a second. I don't know what happened, but he went on fire, and he won the match from there. And
ouch.
Talk about snatching the victory from the jaws of mouth.
Well, that explains the photo quite well. Then.
Yeah, I was not very happy.
To tell you what, yeah, that is bad. But it's
terrible.
No, and I was just seeing, having just added you on Facebook. Thanks for the ad. You went to school in Llandudno, is that right? So you're from the north.
That is right.
You're actually from the north.
It's pronounced Llandudno in Welsh.
Yeah, come on.
I'm sorry.
Llandudno, yes, I did.
Oh my word, I didn't even know. So, I mean, I'll tell you what, you're a contender for the best player the North's ever produced, apart from Frank Willis. Who knows?
It's got to be.
No, Frank Willis.
Yeah, potentially. That's not a bad shout, but
don't dumb yourself down, John. As we're in a situation where there's only 3 of us and a microphone here, you can talk yourself. You can talk yourself right up.
YouTube sounds really good.
Everybody else has got no choice but to listen to it.
Okay. Well, I bet maybe the best player from North Wales. Then.
There you go.
Oh, there we go. Perfect.
So you then decided that you would write another book.
Yes.
Better than the last.
23 years later.
23. So I've got multiple questions on that one, but the first one.
Oh God.
The first one is the name choice. Why would you go with Better Than the Last, which pretty much closes the chapter on that? Why would you not go Better Than the First and leave yourself open for more sequels?
Yeah.
I think people have had enough of me, right?
well, as we've already established, your career is still ongoing, so...
Yeah, exactly. There's plenty more to write about.
Well, the first one's called More Than the Yard Worse because, as you probably remember, I don't know if you know or not know, but I got engaged to Julie on the South Court. We used to have black tie dinners during the Australian Opens on the South Court, and we had a black tie dinner at More Than the Yard, and so our table was at More Than the Yard Worse. And I proposed to Julie at Chase More Than the Yard Worse.
That is unreal. That's an unreal story.
I did not know that, and that is what a lovely title for a book.
That's actually a brilliant story. I had no idea it was that. I just thought it was because it was a complicated chase or something.
No, it's a funny name for a chase, isn't it? It's a silly name, but that's where our table was, and we met in the morning and we got engaged in the evening, and we called it More Than the Yard Worse.
So the South Court is the Hamer, is that right?
Yes.
So you now have that. Now you must have mixed emotions there, because you get the luxury of visiting 5 days a week or whatever the spot that you proposed to your wife at, which must be absolutely fantastic. And then you've also got the flip side of that, which is you share that exact same spot with probably some absolute dross on the tennis court.
Yeah. Mate, do you mind moving? I'm revisiting a memory.
Yeah, you're up at the galleries, but please don't stand in that exact spot, because I've got good memories of that place.
Yeah, that's right.
I know there's a good quote. There's a good quote in your first book, which is, I think you must be. This is as I remember it. You're talking to Chris Ronaldson. You say, "Oi, CJ, I think it's time you found me a wife." Is that right?
Yep, and no one knew, of course, because Julie was a member of the tennis club, and people knew me a little bit from playing in tournaments over there, and so the Australian Open. And I proposed to her. She said yes straight away. I told Chris, "You better go and announce this." And so Chris Ronaldson goes up to the microphone and announces our engagement, and there was a silence, because they thought it was a joke, and I think Ted Crockham famously said, "I think the pros have gone too far this time."
Oh, wow.
That's a sick story.
Oh, because he just thought you guys were taking the piss.
Yeah.
That's so good.
And I rang my parents up at sort of midnight their time, I think, and said, "I've got some great news for you." And they said, "God, you haven't beaten Chris Ronaldson, have you?"
Did you say, "No, don't be daft"?
No.
You've gone too far.
Not quite as good as that, but I have got engaged.
That's brilliant.
That's so good.
So what was the inspiration behind book number 2? Just like more stories, or some stuff unsaid?
I wanted to bring things up to date a little bit. Obviously, I wanted to write, in my view, how the game had changed a bit, and the way the game is today, and just a few other funny stories, and away I went, and sort of brought it a little bit more up to date. Yeah.
Well, that's good, because aside from the fact that you're an absolute gent and legend of the game, the main reason we wanted, and because who doesn't love talking and listening to you, we wanted to talk about like the game then and now, because we've done 39 podcasts before this, and right at the start, at the end of every episode, we created like a real tennis cyborg. So we kind of said, 1 week we talk about like forehands, who's got the best forehand of all time, and we basically built this robotic tennis player with bits of, taken certain sections of somebody's game from around the world and created what we thought was, basically an unbeatable robot. And we've kind of said on a number of occasions that when we're talking about the older, like not the older players, the kind of generation before, we're obviously just supremely like unknowledgeable, and we kind of have come up with our theories, but they're all based on complete ignorance. And we were just kind of really wanted to just chat to you about like how you think the game has changed, and kind of just go into that a bit, really, and whether you think it's better or worse, and what the main changes are to kind of do today. And because I know already for myself that I now have to work, I've had to do a lot more physical training like in the last 6 years than I did for the first 10, just because that's the kind of style of play that Camden's kind of brought into it. So what has it changed a lot? Has it been sorry, I'm just rabbiting on. You tell me what's changed?
Well, I think it has changed. I think back in my day, I thought it was fantastic. You know, we used to rally a lot more on the floor, and we'd cut the ball, and we thought that was great. And then I saw Graham Harlan for the first time volleying off the penthouse. That was unheard of. You know, actually returning a serve off the penthouse.
Yeah.
And he did that pretty well. He did it neatly. And then I saw Wayne Davis play for the first time in 1981 in America. He was the first person that I really saw absolutely blitz a volley, return a serve into the top left-hand corner of the dead on at pace.
Yeah.
I thought, wow, that's amazing. And the Lockie Ducars were great retrievers of their day. You could get almost anything back. He had a great wide stance, but it was still predominantly played sort of on the floor and tightly. Rob Fay comes along, and he was the first person that really stepped into volleys and would intercept balls before the back wall, and he had such an amazing volley with control. And he brought the game into a different dimension in terms of, you cut a ball down to him, trying to beat a chase forward. He'll go and do a top spin. Returns, as you know, straight into the hazard, and you think, how'd you beat that? How'd you get the ball past him? Because he had such a great volley and great strength on the floor, a strong forearm. And yeah, like you said, the game has changed. People are much more athletic. Diets and things have come into it more. People are much more serious about preparing for their matches.
Which I have to say is a massive shame, because I'm all for like kind of just rocking up and then having a few pints after. This physical effort that needs to go in. I'm not a big
You'd be great in our day, I reckon, Ben.
I can't believe you didn't take it more seriously, Jonathan. Well, you could have been world champion.
I would have been good in your day, because I've only got a floor game and I like to not train. So
that's not true. I mean, I was talking to Snowy in the gym. When I get bored, I message him sometimes. And he was telling me about Lockie, just saying that he had years of like scraping his serve off the back wall, and like he said, he just had the best like volley. He was long, retrieved well, and it's other stuff like that which you think, God, I wish I watched him play, because we didn't have any part of Lockie Ducar in the Cyborg, which I'm sure other people might have.
We gather he is a true great, but we've got like no footage. We've only got word of mouth. So
here's a question.
Yeah, I think Lockie is probably. I think should have been, like Tim Chisholm. They're probably up there. Should have been, could have been easily world champions.
Yeah.
They had it. They had the game, but Wayne and you have to say Rob Fay and all that. It had the game, but also were bloody strong in their mind as well. They had absolute determination.
Yeah. So just going back to your at the start, the first thing you kind of mentioned about the game changing, about people playing to length a bit more and stuff like that, and then before you saw Graham kind of hit volley returns and stuff. So because we're obviously very British and very kind of sheltered with stuff generally, was the what was the volleying the serve, for example? Was that just never ever on anybody's radar, or were people aware of it? It was just kind of that's just not how you play real tennis. Do you know what I mean? Like, was it a bit pompous?
Yeah,
were we just a bit stubborn, or?
I just think people. Well, I wasn't aware of it. I didn't really see people really volleying effectively until I saw Graham Harlan play, and I thought, wow, he's because he had a great game as well, tremendous touch. And I just thought people attacked it more. And I think, as you probably know, Ben, today, it's hard to serve to people, isn't it? Because they force it, or they can volley it, and you're on the back foot almost.
It's exactly that. I think the thing that I think is the biggest change, having not seen it before, is, certainly the thing that changed me a lot and felt like it opened a lot more doors, was exactly that, and was looking to volley the serve, because I kind of get the older members who kind of say, the game's gone and no one thinks about their serve anymore and things like that, which you understand, but I'm kind of like, well, it's a bit different now, because before you could really pin people back with your serve because they weren't looking to volley it, so you could serve to a length and stuff like that, whereas now, obviously, a good length serve, which is going to kind of land somewhere near the nick, is actually just a prime volley serve now. So
Yeah.
Um,
and if
it's
you get it
tough.
slightly wrong, it's May more force. So it's really tough, I think. And I remember Kevin Sheldon, of all people, as you know, from Leamington.
Oh,
Yeah.
I marked a match, and we used to mark from the middle and back in the days.
I've had to do that a few times. Don't worry.
Yeah. Okay. And Kevin was against Wayne Davis, who was, I think, world champion at the time. Was 3-love up, serving boomerangs to Wayne.
No.
And he could not get one back. He just could not get one. I thought, wow, this is. And then I think there's an unwritten law. I don't know, Ben. I'm up to date, but I don't think we can have served that anymore, do we? The boomerang.
I think. Well, it's interesting you say that because exactly. Let's cast our minds back not very far at all when Kieran served it to Chris Chapman for 5 sets in a British Open, and that would have only been 3 years ago.
I think that was 2017.
I think that was when. That was the end. That was the last tournament in a World Championship cycle, and it caused quite a lot of controversy because I was actually sat in the viewing area at Queen's and people kind of saying, like, what do you think? And I was like, well, look, what Kieran is doing is not against the it's not against the laws of tennis. He's not. If he was breaking rules, then the marker would tell him to stop. I said, it is kind of frowned upon, but what you've also got to look at the moment is, Kieran's not winning. It was a close game, but it's one of those, you kind of throw all of your eggs into one basket, don't you? Because if it's not an ace, it's probably rubbish. But I guess it's difficult because it's a big grey area. Where do you draw the line? Because if Kieran's serving it to Chris Chapman and it's kind of working 40% of the time, you've got no reason to get involved because he's still losing. Whereas if Kevin's serving it to such a degree that he's beating Wayne because Wayne can't get any back, you can't suddenly determine that to be more unfair than the KB situation, can you? So it's one of those really tough situations, I think, where
it is, and also
what do you do?
Some courts take it very well, and some courts, of course, don't. So, I'm not quite sure. I don't know if the players have a sort of agreement not to serve it, but
well, it's not great for spectators. I think.
I think there's when I first went to Newport, Rhode Island, somebody told me it was banned, which
called a fault or something.
Obviously, I believed, but as I know now, because actually after that, the Kieran and Chris British Open match, it was just before. It must have been 2017.
I think it was 2017, yeah.
Because Rob and Camden were then due to play the World Championship at Queen's. And I got invited, felt like royalty, to be part of a 3-person panel to discuss the boomerang. And Queen had basically petitioned to get it outlawed before the World Championship. Because understandably, from their perspective, the last thing they want is to raise all this money and then potentially a complete damp squib. So I was invited to join as from a playing perspective, and we obviously came to the conclusion, or one of the things we explored was that it just happened to be Queen's Club at that time, so it's not a personal dig at them at all. No club can change the laws of the game. So I think we came to the conclusion that if they wanted to basically ban it from use at their club, that's fine for internal competitions, but you can't do it for an international event because it's not against. Okay. You're asking to change the laws of the game at that point.
Yeah, so it's an etiquette thing.
I think it is, yeah, and I don't think there's any reason to serve it. But it's interesting, like you say. Basically, these days you're confronted with it. When I'm serving, I'm stepping into serve thinking, right, do I want to be having someone, hack a cut volley at me to worse than one, or do I want them to be rifling it at my face? And they're pretty much your two options. So it is tough.
Who was it, right? Yeah. To slightly change the subject, but it's on your career, because you must have volleyed a few serves to win a few points.
Still is.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's a match where it's like, I think I'm remembering this right. If you won the match, Julie would stop smoking or something like that. Who did you beat?
That's a true story. I was playing Snowy.
Snowy, yeah, because I was going to say you must have volleyed a few to get him past Snowy. I was thinking that might be Snowy.
No, I don't. I was never a volley or a return of serve. I used to do disguise. I used to either cut them or force them straight, or force them off the sidewalk, or cut
Good hold.
them. I never, and I still don't. I can't volley. I'm hopeless. I can't see it that well. But I was playing Snowy in the British Open. I think he'd won quite a few British Opens up till then on the trot. And Julie said to me, "If you beat Snowy, I'll give up smoking." And I did, and I think it was in 5 sets, and so she did. Yeah,
that's absolutely fantastic. Do you think? Yeah. Do you think if I'd like to know from Julie whether it was a bit of an empty threat on the basis that she didn't think you'd win, or whether she genuinely believed you would?
No, she didn't think I'd win.
Yeah. Oh, go on then. I'll give up smoking. And then the horrible.
And then started vaping.
The horrible news 3 hours later.
Yeah. But anyway. It worked.
So again, I've had conversations with Graham Highland when I've been over to Australia, and he's very much of the mindset. He kind of says the biggest change is the serve, i.e. he thinks, understandably, I can see where he's coming from, that the modern day player is a lazy server.
Ooh.
And I can understand that, because we don't have a massive well, I think all of the I think all players have like a repertoire now, but they just only really kind of zone in on one or two, because for me, I know if I'm practicing, I'll serve a couple of different serves because I generally know what kind of pattern of play that's going to give me. And if I serve some other stuff, because the game is so fast paced now, I find myself feeling like I'm reacting a lot more, and I don't feel as comfortable. Whereas I guess back in the day, if people generally speaking weren't looking to volley it, you could really kind of go through your repertoire. I worked with Chris Ronaldson for 18 months, and he was all about having
used to go through
a dossier.
All 10 different serves, maybe more.
Yeah.
As a matter of principle, even if they worked, he'd try a different one anyway. So he would never let a player settle.
A dossier, I like that.
Which I guess is good, because if you know that you're getting, generally speaking, a ball that's cut into one of your corners, then you're okay with that. But I guess the addition of, the cut volley cross court, the Tim Chisholm volley splat down the line, a force, suddenly you've got so many more options to cover that it's that bit riskier. So that's obviously a massive change. What about has anything changed, like the styles of rally or anything? Like, do you notice once we're kind of in a rally? I like you say the rallies are shorter, but once we're in a rally situation, is it fairly similar, or has that kind of changed as well?
No, I think it's fairly similar. Okay. I'd say it. That part of the game hasn't changed too much. I think, obviously, players are probably maybe a lot fitter. I don't know. I always thought we were quite fit in our day, but I think people work out a lot more now, and people have got better diets and things, like all sports. But that's probably similar, I would say.
Wow.
The big difference I noticed in doubles, having said that, is that I think when Lockie and Wayne used to dominate doubles a lot in the day, and I played quite a lot. I used to play a lot of doubles with Lockie as well, and one or two other tournaments and things. That there's not a lot of subtle change of pace much in doubles. It's sort of bang crash, bang crash, bang crash. Whereas I think before it was a lot more change of pace, which I always thought was is a shame that it's not played as much today.
Yeah, it does. I think to the innocent punter walking in and seeing it for the first time, when they see a game of singles, they're probably thinking, "What on earth is going on here? Like, there's not much order to this." Yeah. And when they watch doubles, they must just think, "What?" Like you say, and it's all very one paced. And I think it's, I personally think it's one of those things. If you have knowledge on the subject, then it's a bit easier. I remember frequently talking to Chris Chapman about Aussie rules football, who he which he maintains is the best sport on the planet.
That's not true.
And I basically say to him, look, I don't even know how many a side it is, but let's say it's 15 or
18.
Right,
don't even know how many balls they use.
So I'm all right. It's basically 36 guys just chasing after a ball, like mob football used to be. There's no order, there's no strategy. And he rightly says to me, like, you're talking complete rubbish, which is absolutely right. But to the naked eye, because I have no knowledge of what's going on, that's what it looks like. And I would imagine the doubles side of it looks exactly like that. And
I mean, don't get me wrong. Some of it is absolutely spectacular when you see it. I mean, there's some of the stuff that's played, and some of the gets, and some of the rallies are absolutely amazing. But I'm just amazed that there isn't much change of pace, like a really, slow floaty ball, which often gets, because people are used to it coming at such a pace all the time. And I think of cricket, and I think actually of Benny bowling, and how he varies his pace so much, with looking the same, but actually it's different.
Yeah, it must be very difficult to bat against because you've got such little time to kind of prepare for that change of pace.
That's it, and it's all about flight and difference, and so I think that to me, I may be wrong. It's just that from my point of view, is that I just think there should be a lot more change of pace in the game of doubles, and it would be a more interesting game if there was.
On the basis that, as you know, like as a competitor, it's very difficult because I would consider myself to be much more. I would consider myself to be. Like my playing style to be an old school player who has basically had to learn to try and add the modern aspect to it. So if you've got that, that doubles, it took me years to just buy into the fact that it was messy. Do you know what I mean? I'm very structured, and doubles can appear to be unstructured. And like you say, if you that change of pace to try and kind of get the rally into some kind of structure, like, would probably help out people a lot. And I think, these days, not saying it in a critical way at all, but if you look at the style of play of people like Camden, John Lumley, Steve, over in America, doing a lot of squash and rackets lessons and stuff, they use the walls a lot because they're used to using them in other sports all day long. So it's quite difficult to try and pin them back.
All of you guys, you're blessed with amazing reflexes too. I mean, some of the things you can do are just extraordinary. Changing angles and producing shots which are absolutely fantastic. It's just my own observation is I just think maybe a few more shorter balls rather change the pace, change things up a bit more.
Interesting.
I may be wrong. That's my observation.
Well, I mean, I think the reflex thing, you can thank Rob Fay for that, because of his longevity. We've all just had to endure defending our noses quite a lot over the years. So you kind of learn to have to try and deal with it. But I know what you mean. Sometimes when I'm watching doubles and I'm watching some people play doubles, it just looks like they're whacking it somewhere for the sake of whacking it. Do you know what I mean? Because that's what you do at doubles. So you just kind of
got to get it past them with a faster ball. Got to hit it harder past it, to get it past it. Yeah.
Yeah, I was actually giving a lesson to somebody yesterday, and we were looking at their backhand, and they seemed to really get it from the hazard end, and they were struggling from the service end. And I kind of said, look, nothing's changed. And they're like, well, I feel like I need to do something a bit different. I'm like, well, you don't. Because the timber's there, that should mean, in theory, that you don't have to do as much, because you've got, your opponent's got an obstacle that they've got to try and figure out. But the sheer presence of that thing being there makes you feel like you need to whack it in there even more, which is obviously counterintuitive. I can understand why their brain would go to that, but I think it's that same kind of thing with some of the doubles play. They get that loose ball and think, oh, I don't know what to do. I don't want to hit anything loose, so I'll just hammer it into the wall and.
You were a top doubles player though, John, I think. Were you like ranked number 2 or number 1? Did you play with Lockie?
I did play with Lockie quite a bit.
How many did you win? How many tournaments did you win? Did you win many?
I think I've won 3 Opens.
That's not bad.
Not with Lockie.
Oh, right.
2 with Chris Bray and 1 with someone else. Can't remember who now. Sorry, but and the one we used to have things like the European Open and doubles as well, and British Pro doubles, which I don't. They're sort of off the calendar now. But
yeah, the British Pro doubles kind of floats in and out as and when we can find a venue. But yeah, it's not a constant on the calendar.
Yeah, yeah. So and a couple. I used to play with Kevin Sheldon quite a bit, and I love playing with Kevin. He was such a smooth operator, but in his day, and a classic player. and a lovely volleyer, old school. And
So old school.
I think we got to the final a couple of times of the British Open, but couldn't beat Wayne and Lockie, I don't think. But,
would that be on the basis that you said you were quite a classical player, and obviously we know that Kevin was a classical player. He did hit targets and he did hit deadballs, but he wasn't exactly known for his blistering pace. He was just known for his just ridiculous accuracy, wasn't it?
Yeah. So I probably would hit. I think I hit the ball harder than Kevin. I would probably force a bit more than him. But we combined well, and we had a few good runs and things. But as I say, those two guys at the top, Lockie and Wayne, they were difficult to beat.
So would in that situation would Lockie and Wayne have been able to beat the two of you just because, without being rude, they were just better players, or would Wayne's aggression kind of take over? Do you know what I mean? Was it the change? No. Was it the change of style that has like moved into the modern day? Was that what would beat you?
They were just better. They were superb. They were they both played. One played up, one played back. If one was playing badly, they won't go up. They were both good at the net. They were good at the back.
Yeah,
they were pretty adaptable.
So they could just interchange.
Extremely confident, as you know, two Aussies. But, we're disgusted if they ever lost a point. Never mind the match.
Yeah.
So. you and Kevin are too nice. You and Kevin are too nice.
And
Brits.
Yeah, but the funny thing is about Wayne is that he was if you had if you want to know how good he was, you just had to wait, put 5 hours aside. He'll tell you all about
it. We don't have podcasts that long. We can't get him on.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, somebody did actually say, like, when are you going to get Howard Angus on? And I was like, well, we haven't got time.
my laptop would break. I know, unbelievable.
So who is the best player you've ever seen?
Oh.
Don't say it, Sebastian.
That's a tough one, isn't it?
No, I mean, clearly Rob, but, Camden's got to be up there too. I think he's brought another dimension to the game, isn't he? I mean, he plays he's unbelievably quick.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And so, Rob, for his longevity, the way he's changed the game completely, the great thing about Rob is that when the games go tight, he produces his best shots, which is the sign of a brilliant player. He won't hang back. He'll go for winning galleries. He'll go for grills. Us mortals are just happy to get it back and make a tight shot, but no, it's not good enough for him. He'll produce unbelievable shots at the toughest times, and so many times he's won matches that way.
He had two in a row against me in one autumn.
He'll pull out something extraordinary, which is a sign of a great
I was with him last weekend, and he was talking about finishing points, and he was like, "You've got to know 100% that you can rely on yourself to finish a point off." He was like, "You get a point, let's say a high ball off the penthouse. He's like, you got to know you're home from there. That's point over."
Yeah.
And I was like, fair. I'm really nervous from that.
Well, yeah. You've certainly got to believe that, haven't you? Whether you execute it 100% of the time, which is never going to happen, you've certainly got to think, right, this is point over.
Well, that's the thing with it. He believes it and could execute.
Yeah.
And very rare. 5-all, you put your house on him winning the set. Back, when he was, at his best.
When do you think? Because I actually, I interviewed Rob for. We had some kind of Leamington newsletter going out, and I interviewed Rob for it, and I asked him what was the Rob Fay vintage. What do you think? When was he at his best?
Oh, great question. That's a great question.
You asked me that.
I am, yeah.
And that's on court, not off court.
I think he might know. I mean, 2014, he was unbelievably good when he came back from the dead to beat. When he beat, not come from the dead, but he beat Camden in Melbourne.
Yeah, no one thought he was going to win.
I mean, he beat Camden in Melbourne. I would say as the underdog. I think that's a fair. I think that's a fair comment.
Extraordinary performance. I wasn't in Newport, I don't think, when he beat Tim, but I know that he reckons that was probably the best match. That, even though it was he won quite well.
Yeah.
he reckons that Tim was, so close to win, so close to him then.
Yeah.
He was the reason why he got so good, because he knew that Tim was, he can't muck about. Tim's bloody good, and he had to get better.
Well, I actually.
So I reckon he'll probably say 2000 and.
Was it 2004?
2004 in Newport, yeah.
2004. Was 2004? That was at Hampton Court, wasn't it?
No, 2002 Hampton Court.
I think 2002 was Hampton Court. 2004, I think, was Newport.
Yeah.
I think.
Oh, that's right.
Pretty sure.
Then 2006 was It was Oratory.
That's
the
right.
Oratory.
Yeah.
Where he won convincingly, but I think Tim was slightly lame in that. He pulled up a bit sore in that match. I haven't gone through a long semi at Hampton Court before.
So what do you think?
I don't know what he would say, but I would say around about 2006 he was unplayable.
Unplayable. So his answer was actually a 3-year spread.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Because he basically said, I can't remember the years, but it was when he did the Grand Slam 2 years in a row. And he basically said, like, well, how do I say one was better than the other? He's like, I didn't lose a match for 2.5 years. And I'm like, well, yeah, that's a pretty fair answer.
Yeah.
Okay, then, moving things on slightly, who is your who is or was your favourite player to watch? So not necessarily the best, but who could you just sit and watch all day because of their style?
Frank Willis.
Oh, I love the fact that your answer was more immediate than the best player.
I like that.
Frank Willis.
What for what reason?
Real tennis in terms of cut the ball. His Mancunian accent.
Bet you've not done that accent in a while. That was when you were younger.
Yeah. He was a beautiful player to watch. Just because he would never hit it. I don't think he ever went for the dead on ever in his life. But he played with a smile on his face. He was great fun. A beautiful classic real tennis. If you had to say this is the difference between lawn tennis and real tennis, you'd say Frank Willis.
Right.
Oh well, we play as a funny bloke as well.
Yeah,
It's properly fun.
And I remember marking a match in France, and he was he was in his 50s, or I think then, but he didn't understand the French marking, and he thought he hit a ball. And he won the match, and he came to shake hands with Chris Bray, I think he was playing, and it was actually a hazard. And I said, no, Frank, it's a hazard chase. And he said, oh, well, at least I've thought I've won. At least I've.
Did he win from there though?
No, he lost.
Oh no!
Oh no!
It's a disaster.
No.
That's good though. No, I know he's doing all right, Frank. I believe. I think he's back in England because he had a few years in Spain. I think.
Lovely.
Well, if you ever talking to again, Rob, please pass on my best to him if he remembers me.
Yeah, I will.
Oh, if he remembers you, please.
Of course he'll remember you. I know. He'd be a good one to get on the podcast, actually. Maybe one day.
I think he still supports Manchester City, and I still support Everton, so he might remember that.
Everton, yeah, of course. Nick's an Everton fan. Right, I tell you what, Benno. Before we wrap this up, do you reckon we've got time to go through the 10 bits of the cyborg with Johners, and we can get like a short answer?
Oh, God, okay, yeah, let's do that.
Right, okay.
I'll scribble them down.
Because we've got forehand, backhand.
We've got serve.
Yeah, serve.
Return.
And basically what we're going to do, we're going to hit you with an aspect of real tennis, and you've got to name your best player ever. Because I think you've seen the biggest range of real tennis out of anyone we've had on the cyborg, okay?
Yeah, go.
So, Ben's just writing them down. We've got 7.
I'll see if I can remember them. I mean, you've put me on the spot here as well.
Okay, so I'll tell you what, we'll go first. We'll go serve. Best server.
Chris Ronson.
Yeah, that was what we went for. Okay. The best returner of serve.
Wayne Davies.
Oh,
see,
good answer. Yeah, see, we didn't go for that.
He was in our conversation, but we went for Tim Chisholm.
We could never have said Wayne, never watched him. Okay, forehand.
Rob Fay.
Backhand.
Ben Taylor Matthews?
Yeah, Ben Taylor Matthews.
To be fair, you were in the conversation. Like Ben was like, "No, it can't be me. It can't be me." And I was like, "Mate, your backhand's so good." Okay, volley.
Rob Fay.
Great.
I mean, you just can't argue. You can never argue with that,
I know.
can you?
That's what we said. We almost didn't choose Rob for everything because it just would have made for like a boring series.
Well,
but I mean,
Tim Chisholm would be close too.
Yeah.
What about Gene Scott? Do you ever watch Gene Scott play?
Yeah, I did. I played against Gene.
Oh yes.
I played him in the US Open, and he was like this. He's very tall, and he looked hopeless on the in the knock-up. And I thought, what the heck's going on here? This is going to be easy. I mean, in those days in the US Open, we used to play the best of 3 8-game sets.
Oh wow,
really boring,
that's so cool.
Long, but that's what we did. And anyway, he was phenomenal on the half volley and volley and all of that. And I think I went down 8-6, 8-6 or something. So
I remember Graham Highland. He's told me this story. The first time he told me the story, I was in stitches, and then I think he actually told it to me again because I asked him to. I was stringing a racket in Melbourne, and you may have even been there, and he was telling me the story about when Gene Scott played Colin Lumley.
Yeah.
And like smashed 3 of his rackets in the first 2 games or so, or something ridiculous like that. Because no one really knew who he was, right? And they just turned up and got hammered.
Well, he was a great, obviously a Davis Cup tennis player, wasn't he? And written books on tennis, lawn tennis, and he was different. He challenged for the world title.
He did play Howard, didn't he?
Against Howard.
Yeah.
Is that Howard?
Yeah, Howard. Yeah. Hampton Court.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Next one on the cyborg, retrieval.
Camden Riviere.
Yeah, that's what we said.
Okay, best so we're talking not as in a physical skill. What about like heart, mentality, determination?
Mentality.
Yeah. Who was the best?
How can you go past Rob?
Yeah.
I mean, seriously.
It's tough, isn't it?
Oh, we had Flair.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's true. We'll stick that.
Okay.
Wayne's
Rob.
Up there.
Wayne. So, what about targets? Who's the best target hitter you ever seen?
Rob.
Yeah. Okay, this is I've just remembered a great category as well. Flair. Who had the best flair?
Who was just the best random?
After me.
Yeah, after you, second to you. Can't put yourself in.
You
there.
can't put on. No, that's off court.
Who had the best flair? Oh golly. Frank. I'm going to go Frank again. It was just great.
Yeah, love that.
We went for Tabley, I think.
Yeah, we did.
Oh, Tabley's up there. Yeah,
just
you're
random.
He was
here's the rule book. I'm going to throw it in the bin and just like do what I want.
I think that's that's our entire cyborg. I think
5,
so.
6, 7, 8. We've got 9 here. I think
We'll
that's
think
about
of
right.
another one. Yeah, I think it was.
So,
about 9.
are you just to go through this, Jonas, to make sure you're happy? The best server of all time is Chris Ronaldson. Returner serve, Wayne Davies. Forehand, Rob Fay. Backhand with a little bit of plugging, Ben Taylor Matthews.
You have got a great backhand. You've got a great backhand volley, and you never miss.
It's just a shame about it's the shame about the other stuff. But
well, we don't mention. We talked about the backhand though.
Yeah, it's true. Volley, Rob Fay. Retrieving, Camden Riviere. Heart, Rob Fay. Targets, Rob Fay. Flair, Frank Willis.
That's a great cyborg.
Yeah.
So what you're telling us?
I'm very happy with your suggestion of tabs as well for Flair. I mean, but yeah.
4, 5, 6. So what we've got here, out of the 9 categories, 6 of these players are modern day competitors. I mean, 4 of them are Rob, but so would that? I'm not saying that the game is better now than it was, but that. I guess the fast-paced and the aggression levels and the physicality.
You could also be saying my memory is gone,
Well, let's hope not.
The last one I just remembered is power. I think we talked about power, didn't we?
Yeah.
Who hit it the hardest you ever saw?
Who when someone tucked you up in that backhand corner and you dug out a great ball, and as you looked up, you thought, "Oh no, this is going to hit the back wall high, and they're going to thump this at me." Who scared you the most?
I think we're not talking about Ivan Ronaldson here because you don't know where he was going to hit it, but
fear factor for a different reason.
yeah. Probably Lockie.
Oh wow. Yeah. Love that.
Well, that's good because when we've spoken, I think we did like quite a large section on people who give the ball a bit of a lick, and I don't think Lockie ever came up. And again, this is where we're just a bit. We just don't know. So
I think I marked a match once when Lockie was really pissed off with Wayne in the final of the French Open. It was 1985, I think it was, and they were playing in Paris, and they were using hard pellet balls.
God, that's a scary place.
That was the most dangerous thing I've ever done, and I think they were both trying to kill each other.
Yeah.
And,
Hopefully not
it
you.
was just frightening.
Well, that's a small court and a big dead on. That's a dangerous place to be stood in the middle of. And I imagine if the net at Paris is anything like it is at the moment, it's not massive. The structure of it is not exactly superb.
Well, that is a good sideball we have there. Better insight than certainly we could provide during your 41-year playing career, Johnny's. Nonetheless, we're gonna wrap this up for around 55 minutes. But it has been an absolute pleasure to have you on. I think this is going to draw in some listeners from around the globe. Hopefully, in Oceania.
And please do plug this to your Melbourne members as well.
Stephen Powell, I think, is our biggest fan in Melbourne.
He's very keen.
Yeah, no, he loves it. He loves it. But no, it's been an absolute pleasure, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your Pinot Grigio on this Saturday.
Pinot Noir.
Oh, Pinot Noir! My God, Pinot, yeah. I see. I'm not as cultured when it comes to wine.
That's
However,
okay.
Jonas, thank you so much for giving up your Saturday evening.
Yeah, thanks, guys. It's been a pleasure. And have a very Merry Christmas to you and all your listeners.
Exactly, yeah. Everyone, Merry Christmas. Stay safe.
All the best for